Alrighty, hello, everybody. Incredible morning, everyone. It's been a hot little minute since I've been able to be on live. I'm still technically not done in here. Hopefully, today is the last day of getting this room in order. This is so weird because the way it is now, I want to look at the camera, but I also kind of want to see down here. So it's kind of weird. I got to get used to different layouts of everything in here. Still have to figure out the lighting without anything on the walls. It sounds crazy in here to me. It sounds very open. I feel like I hear it's just hollow. So yes. I'm sorry. I made a face with a slushy. I'm live. It is Take Your Child to Work Day, and since we work from home, MJ is here. He's actually going to help me produce a video later, but now he's going to go help his father with orders. Ooh, excuse me. But it sounds very open in here because there's the sound just bouncing off the wall because normally I have stuff on the walls. Right now, there is not. It's very open in here, very empty in here. So it sounds kind of weird. But I'll get it all together. It's all coming together. I lost a lot of storage, where I was storing things before. So now I was trying to be very creative with where I'm storing things. So trying to figure that out is crazy. But yeah, nevertheless, we are here. I made it on before the end of the week. So yes, it is very much so real to take your child, and he's been waiting for it because when he was eligible, the first time he was eligible to be able to actually go, which is weird because I think my niece was able to go this year, but I think before it was like you had to be 9, and that's when the pandemic hit, so he wasn't able to. But that's kind of weird because I just realized my niece is participating because she went to my sister's school. Don't know, but so he's excited because it's the first year he's actually gotten to do it. Technically, for a year he was with us every day because he was homeschooled, but he's actually going to work today. He's going to work today. So, all right. So let's go ahead and let me just find this and hit share real quick. Ooh, good day from down under. Wow. MJ loves when we have international viewers. Let's see. Whoa. Alrighty. So let's go back over here. I just want to share this out. All right. So what was I gonna say? I forget. Anywho, I just wanted to come on because I did a video. I did see, and everything is acting kind of cuckoo crazy. Like I can't get my camera controls to come up. My lights were messed up, so I had to turn one light on manually. I have to readjust the lighting in here because now it's a different color. So now I have to adjust the lights. And then with the way that my desk is, like where I can hook the key light up at, it's in a weird spot. So it's not kind of like right on me like it was before. So I have a lot of adjusting to do. Hopefully I'll be able to get all that done this weekend to where by next week, everything is back in working order, and even much better because I'll be able to do like actual demos on the desk and you can fully see what I'm doing. So I'm excited about getting this all done and all that kind of good jazz. And of course, showing you guys all of the, just how I had to rearrange and just be very creative to make the space not seem as small, but still have storage to be able to do things and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's that. All right, y'all. But anywho, Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Shakia, the professor of HS Inc. 365, Soloholics Anonymous, 365 Creative Academy, and the amazing product line, honestly speaking, where we sell summation ink, summation paper, pigment ink, and so much more. HS Ink Digital can be found on our website, different files. I've been working on some other files and things like for that. So hopefully this just makes it where I can be a lot more productive because I got rid of a lot of stuff in my office that I don't really do anymore. So I can now focus on the things that I do. So that's that. We're gonna have this just gonna be quick Q&A because I do have to get back to work. But I was burnt out. I was so exhausted yesterday. I have to go figure out what to do with this cart that we built from an old desk for my Hotronics. That was the pain in my butt trying to figure out how to work that beast of a heat press back into this room. So like everything is strategically arranged because of that heat press. So and you're going to see a little bit of change. It's not going to look like a Hotronics when it comes back in here. It's going to be kind of, I need it to match. So I'm making some adjustments and some modifications to it so that it will match in here. All right. But this is a Q&A session. I have not done these in a while. I had a little topic that I want to talk about, but I don't like the audio right now, and I don't like the lighting, and I don't want it to look like a crazy video. So I'm going to hold off on like fully talking about that. But just know the title of it is going to be the biggest mistake I ever made was trying to run my own business. It's some interesting topping. So that is a 2720 on top of a Sawgrass. This is an Epson 2720. I don't really use this one very often. It's just for teaching purposes. I mean, I use it, but I'm not a fan of the way the colors come from Eco Tanks. So I don't really use it. It's just more so for teaching. Yeah, that was another thing too, because I had the big wall behind me, like the big desk behind me. These were on the corner over there. So it was really interesting trying to figure out where I was going to put these also because I lost that storage. So they just have to basically sit in front of the window. This is actually supposed to be on top of this one here, but my coffee is leaking and I need a coaster. So I moved it so that I could put my coffee cup on this stand and not have it on my desk. But I need a coaster. I don't have one, but this will do because I have no idea why this is leaking or there's all this stuff at the bottom of it. I don't get it. But I'm going to make myself some coasters for in here. All right. But again, this is Q&A style. So if you guys have any questions for me, silhouette related, crafty related, creative related, business related, feel free to go ahead and drop those questions. I just want to kind of hang out with you guys for a minute. I have been knee deep in spackle, paint, caulking, baseboards, screws, nails, anchors, and I'm a little bit over it. So I just needed a little break before I go and change back into my painting clothes and paint the stand that we created from an old desk. So that I can, again, store that beast of a Hotronics and be able to move it because it's going to go in the corner this is just for, it's not all finished. You guys can't see everything yet, but it's actually going to go in this space, but it's not enough room to actually operate it when it's there. So it's just going to be stored here. So unfortunately, that's the one thing I don't like is that in videos, you're going to see the beast that is the Hotronics. Because there's just really no way for me to kind of put it anywhere else or hide it. So you're going to most times see it. It's going to sit right here, but I'm going to have to pull it out in order to use it. So yeah. She says, I can't wait to hear that topic. I will have my notepad ready. Lessons learned help. When making graduation fans, what type of paper do you use? I am now a fan of like the koala paper. I used to use Hammer Mill, but Hammer Mill lost their ever-loving mind and the paper is not as great as it used to be. So now my go-to paper for any of that stuff is koala. What would you recommend for a pigment ink printer? Pigment ink printers. I don't recommend, like, you can't convert a printer. A pigment ink printer is a pigment ink printer. All the Epson workforce printers that use a Durabright Ultra ink is a pigment ink printer. So like the 7820, the 7840, the 7210, those are all like, they come with pigment ink in the box. I do not recommend taking an EcoTape printer and putting pigment ink in it because your colors are going to be different because they use two different types of ink. So your colors will be very, very dark if you put pigment ink inside of an EcoTank printer. How do you do a reverse image or silhouette to make the fan thicker? So I don't try to do two-sided as far as pictures. I just print out the front. I use sticks in mine. Oh, hold on, I gotta sneeze. Excusez-moi. Excuse me. So I use sticks in mine. Previously, before, what I would do, I would have the printed side, and then I would print out another. I would not print. I will cut out 3 blank, like it's no cut. It's just the regular outline. I will cut out 3 of those on regular white cardstock. And then I would glue the one, so it's called matting. I would glue that one to the backing of the fan. Then I put my sticks. So I glue those 2, and then the backing part, I glued the 2 plain pieces together. Then I would put my sticks in the middle and then glue those together. Now, most people don't really care about how heavy they are. So I just take the front one, I print that out, I put the sticks on the back, and then I just take another piece of cardstock and glue that to the back. So now it's just 2 sheets of paper instead of 4. It makes it go a lot faster. And it's still great because most people get rid of them a few days after graduation anyway. So, but yeah, you don't try to mirror the picture. It's going to show backwards. There's no way around that. I converted a Workforce 2850. It had ink in it. Can I switch to your ink without having to do anything to the printer? If you, the 2850, as long as you have those cartridges, we don't sell cartridges for it. Ink is really ink. Almost everyone. I would bet to say 90. I would always say 93.65, but to me that's too low. So I'm going to switch the numbers and say 95.63, 365 backwards, of the people who sell ink. I don't care who it is. We're getting it from overseas, and it's called white labeling. And we're putting, they mass produce it, and we are able to purchase it in bulk and then sell it to where you guys don't have to either pay $40 in shipping for it to be air shipped to you from China. It's a great way to support another small business to where we're paying and we're taking the risk of getting everything over here. And then you order it from us to be able to get it in a timely manner. So we can ship it to you. Like, we ship out all orders same day if you order before 3 p.m. So you're able to get it faster. But there's really only 3 manufacturers, like 3, maybe 4, that actually like make and produce, because it is a really, really, really big deal to like make sublimation ink, like all the machinery and how it has to be distilled and all this different stuff. So it's like 3 of them. And then even in China, there are companies to where they manufacture the ink. And then this other company, they pretty much just bottle it. Like, they just have the machinery to have all these different tubs and stuff, and they bottle it for people like me. So there's a lot of places that you can look for on Alibaba, AliExpress, DH Gates that's going to sell you ink in bulk. But there's really only a few manufacturers. So most times, the same ink that's in our bottles is probably the same ink in the bottles that you already have. Now, there are some that are a little bit different because they use different colors. Will it sublimate? Yes. Could you see a difference in color? Yes. But technically, even with ours, because we're not the ones that's mixing it, sometimes, if it was employee A that mixed the colors Tuesday and employee B that mixed the colors a month from now on Wednesday, they might put in a little bit too much. So it's all the same. Like being told, that's why our company is called Honestly Speaking. I feel like it doesn't hurt me to be completely honest in how this process works, because we still provide customer service. For us, the ink is just a way for you to get really good help. It's like buying the ink is payment for the help that you really need. Is kind of how I think about it. So yes, Koala is on Amazon. They actually also have their own website, but yes, it is on Amazon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So a Pigment ink printer again will be the 7820, 7840, 7310, any of those. The 8550 really is a pretty good printer. It's an EcoTank printer. It is dye based for the cyan colors. I mean the inks, they're not waterproof. So if it gets wet, especially if it's just all color and no black, it will potentially run. Well, not gonna say will. It will run. That's really the only difference. But dye ink actually has a better color gamut than pigment ink. I love that you keep everything real and you're never one-sided with your opinions. Thank you. You are very welcome. What can pigment ink be used for? Pigment ink is okay. So let's break down inks real quick. Um, so even with summation, it's an inkjet. This Sawgrass is an inkjet printer. Any type of printer where it's not toner is an inkjet printer. So whether it's sublimation, it has dye ink, it has pigment ink, it's eco solvent ink, um, technically even latex ink, like all of those are inkjet. It's little droplets of ink that goes down. Now when it comes to toners, they have an imaging drum, so it puts the toner down, the whole thing like kind of goes on there. So that's the two different worlds, right? So as far as just regular ink that you would print documents on and things like that, that's your dye and your pigment ink. Pigment ink, the difference in it is just the way that it looks. Dye looks like food coloring. It's a much darker ink. Screen printers love dye ink when they are printing out the transparencies to burn their screens because it is like pitch black. It's great for that to block out light because it's a dark ink. Whereas with pigment ink, it is pigmented. You can tell what color it is. Yellow for dye inks looks like orange, looks like food coloring, whereas pigment ink looks actually yellow. The advantages of pigment ink is it's waterproof. That's literally it. If you were to print something and it gets wet, I mean, the paper will break down before the ink runs. So, back in the day, if you were to print something out, you had to do this term paper, you typed it all out, you print it all out, you're reading over it, go and make sure you got everything done. You're in the cafeteria and just spill water, you spill milk on it. And that entire thing is now gone because it was printed with dye ink. This is where pigment ink comes in. Like it's the super ink, because if that happens, you just have to kind of rinse it off, maybe separate your pages so that they don't dry and stick together. But that ink will not run. It does not run. It was great for me doing chip bags and more so like the Capri Suns and the water bottles, because my clients could still actually chill them. So you can put them in a bucket or a cooler with ice and all that stuff. Of course, it melts and all that, and you will never see a difference in it. Now, if you're just using regular paper, paper's paper, it's going to break down. So I would use a different type of paper so that it wouldn't affect it, but the colors technically would never run. They were able to store it even in a little bin with ice. There were times where it rained, and yes, they could potentially get messed up, but you don't get all of the ink running. So it was great for me to use pigment ink, because of the type of work that I was doing. But like I said, the colors of dye inks is the color gamut is a whole lot better. It's just that when you use dye inks, if you don't want it to run, you have to buy waterproof papers and labels and things like that. That's more expensive than just buying regular paper and being able to print pigment ink. But it's just regular old ink. I use it for banners, chip bags, graduation fans. I've done obituaries. I mean, anything that you do like regular printing, it's just printed on there. So like I said, dye inks are great for printing. I mean, any ink is great. Like you're not going to necessarily, a lot of times it's your computer, it's your like let's say if you're using a third party ink, it's going to be a little bit different. Your computer, whenever for every printer is going to be different. HP, the way that they formulate their inks, their is it HP or Canon? Canon now has a pigment ink printer. I think actually with HP, a lot of their Insta inks or for their office jets is pigment ink. But the way that they formulate their ink, HP, Canon, Brother, Epson, they're all going to be different. They all can be pigment ink printers, yet the color is going to be different because they have a specific way that they mix their colors. One of the things that you're supposed to do when it comes to your computer and your printers, you're supposed to calibrate them. Like straight up, everybody should probably have a color monkey, and it's like $200-300 because you really need to calibrate it and make what you see on screen match how it prints. And then papers are totally different. The way something looks on a matte paper will look slightly different than on glossy paper. If it's coated paper or uncoated paper, it's going to look different, which is why if you ever get a Pantone chart, there's one that's for textiles and fabrics. There's one for coated and uncoated paper. It really is a nerd, a science geek's dream when it comes to understanding colors and printers and monitors, because there is a science to it. So any printer, I don't care what brand it is, what model it is, can print all of the teams. Okay, from cupcake toppers to graduation fans to banners. The way the colors come out on my Epsons looks totally different than the colors on my Roland. No two printers will ever print exactly the same. And then when you're using a third party ink, I mean, the goal is to get it as close as possible, but no one can mimic the actual formula for any print, like for any company. Like you can't infringe on their business that way to offer the exact same color profile. So you're always like, if you use any third-party inks, it's always going to be just a little bit off. 15,000. Actually, every single Epson EcoTank printer is dye ink. The only ones that use pigment ink is the 16600, like you said, 16650. Those are the only EcoTank printers where pigment ink comes in the bottle and the color profile is made to match that, to where it'll come out as accurate as possible. Now, some people will go and they'll print and say, wait, but it looks totally different from HP and Epson. That's going to happen. You're going to have to set up certain color profiles. You're going to have to use sometimes it's, you may have to switch your program. It's the way the picture or like the file is saved. All those things can affect how it looks. So I can't tell you. It might be pricing that will help you decide which one to get. And if you just really need that waterproof factor, then you want to go with something that is pigment ink. I have an Epson 2760 with the original inks inside. Is it okay for? Yep. It's just gonna run. It's just gonna run. Is there a way to make your own yard signs? I know how to create it, but can I DIY it instead of getting it sent out to a company? Not really. if you're trying to print it to vinyl, unless you're going to spend a couple of thousand on a roll-in to be able to print directly to vinyl, there's really like no way. If you wanted to do one and maybe piece it together because you're going to use like maybe like glossy paper, or if you can find like sticker paper on a roll, I mean, you can probably do that. And then you're just going to have to do a line because your printer prints, if you have a wide format, the widest is going to print is 13 inches. Most yard signs, the standard coroplast is 18 by 24. So you'll end up having to piece it together. Now, you don't have to have them put it on the coroplast. What I did for years before we got our rolling was I would send it off to a printer just to print the vinyl. And I put it down on the coroplast myself. So it saves you a few bucks versus them doing it for you. But that's the only way. But as far as printing it out yourself, unless you have a wide format printer, you're not going to be able to do that. Oh man, it's a lot of printer questions. I'm an Epson girl. I've used Epson. So I went from Canon when I was in the Air Force. When I got home, I got a brother. They were both dye-based printers. And then once my brother died, I was just looking for a new one. I came across the 7720 from a YouTube video. I got it and I've never looked back. So I've always been an Epson girl, except for my laser printer, which is an HP. Any printer will work. Any printer will work. I have no idea who that is. I've only if it's like a printable transfer for darks, I've only ever used Jet Pro 3G, Avery and Jolie, and I'm a fan of Jet Pro 3G. I don't buy generic sub ink unless I can get the ICC profile for it. I mean, that's totally up to you. When it comes to certain programs, like if I teach a lot of people from Silhouette, you cannot get an ICC profile, or you cannot put it in there. Now, if you're someone that's using Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity, and things like that, then yes, you can put in a color profile for it. Do understand though, just because they give you a color profile, it can be your paper. It can still be your monitor. Their profile is going to be just for the ink. It doesn't help calibrate your monitor. If you have a cheap monitor versus a more expensive monitor, one that is of better quality as far as like backlighting and things like that. If you have certain resolutions, it's going to look different. It's no different than going into Best Buy, going into Walmart. You see all of the TVs, they all are showing the same thing, yet the color is very much so different. So an ICC profile really doesn't help you much for color accuracy when it comes to your computer, your printer, or your monitor, because they don't have your monitor. It's supposed to come out as close as possible, but whose eyes is it adjusted to? That's why I don't stress so much the ICC profile. Now, where it can somewhat help in is when you are printing from an EcoTank printer. These are never going to give you the accurate color. Never, ever, 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 because the firmware for it is meant to mix darker inks, not pigmented inks. So I don't care what ICC profile they give you, your colors are going to be slightly off if you're using an EcoTank printer. I've never had an issue with colors being like severely off when it comes to using a Pigment Ink printer for a sublimation, because almost every single ink is made to match the Pigment Ink color profile. So you can, have someone give it to you, but I promise you, if you ever try out another ink, it's probably going to be the same even without the profile. Trust me, I do this work. Okay, so calibrating it is you have to purchase equipment for it. You have to get what's called it's like a color monkey. You and basically what happens is you put you put it to your monitor, and it's not necessarily just for the printer itself or how the color outputs. it's going to make adjustments. And you were one of my students, you're using Silhouette. You can't really use ICC profiles. It's like when you go to Photoshop and it asks you what type of profile, RGB, this, that, the third, that's where you put that in at. From Silhouette, you don't have that option. I think Macs maybe have that option, but from Windows PC, you don't have that option. So you go and you put it on, like you can, there's one where you put it on your screen and it reads like certain things on your screen. So it hangs on it and you'll calibrate it like that way. Then there's another one where it prints it out. You have like this little mechanism and there's a printout that comes from the computer. You have to print that out. You take it and you run it over it, right? And so what it's doing is it's reading those colors and registering how exactly it prints it out to be able to make the adjustments to where it can match what's on your monitor. But the color month, like the basic one, is going to run you about $200-300. Oh, thank you. No, it's that's boring to most people. Most people aren't going to attend that class. It's probably going to go completely over their head. Just print. Could you please recommend a summation printer on a budget that prints bigger than 8.5 by 11? Then your only option that's going to be a budget-friendly one is going to be your 7820s, 7840, 7310, or C7000. Only thing with those, which a lot of people complain about, but I don't understand why, because I mean, I guess we're spoiled by the whole eco tank thing. And also the fact that the 7720 had a resettable chip. So with the 7820, 7840, 7310, and C7000, you can convert those. They print up to 13 inches wide, but you're going to have to purchase chips every time that it, like after a low ink warning, it gets all the way low and it says cartridge not recognized. That means you have to change that chip. Some people don't like that, so they'll go to eco tanks. I'm not a fan. If you guys know, as far as like it being my main printer, I'm not a fan of eco tanks. If something go like they're great, people think, oh, it's great because you don't have to do all this converting. Yes, you are. Putting the ink in there is converting. You're doing the same thing with the workforce printer that uses cartridges. Now, down the line, when things go wrong and colors stop printing, you really can't push air through an eco tank printer the way that you can a workforce printer. Maintenance wise, an eco tank printer is more work than a workforce. My mother went the other day and she just knew because she hadn't printed on her printer in like weeks. And she's like, oh, you're going to have to come over here and fix it because I haven't printed. Mother went to go print and there was absolutely nothing wrong because there are no tubes to back up. With any cartridge-based printer, it sits right on top of the print head. So it doesn't dry out as fast as people think. You don't have to print every day. That whole you got to print every day when you convert a printer came from people using the continuous ink system, which had a tank on the outside and there were lines going through it. With that type of printer, you're going to have to print more often because your lines can back up when they're not being used. But workforce printers, you don't have that issue. And if there is a slight mistake, hiccup in it, some colors aren't, you open that bad boy up, put a syringe back there, push air, run the printhead cleaning, boom, you're good, you're done. Eco tanks, it's too much maintenance for me. Too much maintenance. Yes, you can use our pigment ink to refill it. Epson's pigment ink is not that expensive. So if you were wanting to, like, because it's just the bottle, compare the cost of it. Again, your colors can be slightly different from what you are used to. And from my understanding, their bottles aren't super expensive. So check out and compare both of them. I don't know. I don't use HPs like that. I have a laser printer. It doesn't it's just a regular printer. Most desktop printers, even if you can't look at the specs, if it tells you it can print 47 inches long, like the Epson printers, you can't just put a roll on there. It doesn't have an automatic stop. It has a stopping point. So anything past that, it's just going to keep feeding. So even if you put a roll on there and you're printing something that's 5x6, once it prints out that 5x6, because it has a sensor that senses the end of the page, it's just going to keep going until that sensor is exposed. So you cannot just put a roll of paper on any desktop printer. They all have a sensor. You have to cut it down. And I can't tell you how. I don't research all printers. I only use Epson printers. I personally go to a sign supply shop. You guys are not taking advantage of places locally. Everything, we're always looking for stuff online. If we just take the time to look locally, you'll find that you have a lot of diamonds in the roughs right in your backyard, and you don't have to wait for things to come in via mail. Well, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm in South Florida. There's actually so many sign supply shops here that provide the supplies for bigger sign shops. When you go to a sign shop, they don't just have everything there. They're going and they're purchasing their supplies as well, from vinyl to acrylic to coroplast and things like PVC, things like that. So I go there, I buy the big one. It's like, I think it's like 4 feet by 8 feet. They cut it down just so it can fit inside my Durango, and I bring it home and I cut it down myself. If you don't want to sit there and cut it down yourself, you can purchase 18 by 24 inch coroplast. However, you're going to pay a lot more than you cutting it down yourself. The other thing I like about cutting it down myself is I'm able to do yard signs that are landscape as well as portrait, and as far as like changing where the flutes go. So I like being able to cut mine down because most people will cut them in the landscape orientation. How do you calibrate a Cameo 4? Most times you guys don't need calibration. It's just about your setup and setting it up properly. Unless you have moved your press, your machine across country, and it just went a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, a bump, and it probably knocked offline, you probably don't need to calibrate it. And it's a matter of like the mat that you're using, where you're loading your paper at, making sure that your print printed out correctly. It's little things like that that will help, that will affect your print and cut. If you're just doing regular vinyl cuts, you don't have to calibrate at all. I mean, if you're using an EcoTank printer, you're going to have that because I tested one of your pictures. An EcoTank printer, you're going to have that. But if you have a workforce printer, you should not have those issues. I totally agree with you on color accuracy. I've tried just about everything to get the colors just right, and it's almost impossible. Very much so true. You're not going to be able to. I got my colors to pop by watching several of your tutorials on Epson printers. The other thing, too, with a lot of people, when it does come to like workforces, if you use premium presentation paper matte, because it's putting down so much color, the most dominant color is magenta. So with using premium matte, you can be putting a lot of red tones in your images. I find that plain paper gives me a better color when it comes to skin tones. Can you add ink to your cartridge before it's empty? Only if you take the top off. So if you watch my video on push air, I show how to take the either gray or blue top off. So you have that door. If you take that off, you can lift it up at any point, take it out, fill it up, and put it back in. That's not going to change the level on the printer. Putting ink in will never have it where your printer will say it is now full. Every single printer is controlled by the chip that is on the cartridge. Every single cartridge-based printer is controlled by the chip that is on the front of the cartridge. Your printer will never know what kind of ink you have. You can put water, you can put Hennessy in those cartridges, and it will still read. When I did my video, when I was testing the chips, nothing was in those cartridges, yet the indicator on the printer still read completely full because it is the chip. Now, if you have like the newer workforce printers, and oh, here's one right here. It does not have that center chamber that helps regulate the ink, and it actually helps it flow a little bit better. If you have any cartridges where it's just an open vessel, so if it's just open like this, as that chip runs down, like this can empty and there's still prints on your chip. So you want to keep this filled with ink to avoid it ever completely. When we say don't let it ever run out of ink, we're not talking about the status. As far as the status, baby, use that until you cannot use it anymore. When we say don't ever let your cartridge, the physical amount of ink, it should never go completely out, because then you're going to introduce air into your print head, and then you're going to have to do some maintenance for that. So you always want to keep ink in here filled up, but it has nothing to do with the chip that will be on the front. Okay, so both are inkjets. So a 7720 and an EcoTank are both inkjet printers. It's how the ink is expelled. A workforce printer is a cartridge-based printer. The EcoTank, of course, is just an EcoTank. I could just pour the ink in, but they are both inkjet printers. My blue ink stopped coming through. Every other color works. Try to flush it or just replace the wait. Should I try to flush it or just replace the cartridge? I've done the printhead cleans and don't. So you're going to do push air. So try that. One, make sure that it's filled and primed. So if it's the kind that has a circle, it has to be primed, and then do the push air. So it's probably just an air pocket in your print head. Hello. Yes, push air. Watch the video, search the video that says push air, and try that. Chip resetters have absolutely nothing to do with clogs, nothing at all to do with if you have a clog. When people say that, I'm like, what y'all talking about? It has nothing to do with it. Are the chips really strictly designated to the color? Some of my chips fell off and I'm not sure which color goes. So yes, they are. And they actually are indicated. So you might have to get a magnifying glass, but if you look really, really closely on the chip, it says 812XL. And then there is a C, a Y, an M, or a K. And it tells you which one it is. So yes, it is specific to certain colors. Yes, we are live right now. Yeah, it's really, 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 really small. I don't have any in here with me because this one actually doesn't have a chip on it. But it's in the corner. Nope, that's just a return on ink. I don't think I have a chip in here. No. It's always good to have extra cartridges. So what we do with our Epson printers, like the 7720 ones, we have two different. Well, now we have like 3 sets of ink. And once one color says that it is extremely low, we take all of them out. We put the new cartridges in, and then that set that I took out, I'm going to top them all off, reset them all, put them in my little container for safekeeping, and we just keep rotating them and rotating them and rotating them. Ooh, today I guess y'all like the fact that I was on camera. We had no like major silhouette questions today. A lot of printer questions, which I don't mind. Because I know a lot of people want to know what their other option. What are the other options? Because like the 15,000 damn near impossible to find. The 8550, I mean, you can somewhat find it, but not really. So I know printer questions are a big one. If I send my silhouette design to Staples to print with the cut borders, will my silhouette cut them? Okay, so what you'll have to do is save it as a PDF. Make sure there's no scaling. When Staples prints them, they have to make sure that there was no scaling. You have to go and tell them that they cannot put scaling, not fit to page, not one, like it says like 100%, like whatever it is, like their Xerox printers say it cannot have any scaling whatsoever, no borderless or anything like that, because once they put any type of scaling on it, it's going to change where those registration marks are, and it may not cut correct. It's not going to read correctly. So just make sure that there's no scaling on them whatsoever, and it will work. You can just save it as a PDF, and then when you're ready to cut it, open up that exact same file. You cannot move anything on that file. Once you save it, it has to stay that way. No, I have not. I talked about that in the beginning of this video. So you can watch, like if you just came in, go back at like afterwards and watch the beginning of it. I talked about it a little bit in the beginning. So my next question, I have the A12XL cartridges for Salvation and Pigment Ink. They are now all mixed up. Is there a way to know which cartridge has Pigment Ink and which one does not? So best way to do that is to look at the color. The ones that are going to be really easy to tell is like the yellows. The yellow for Pigment Ink is going to be like a true yellow. The Sublimation one is going to be more of like a mustard type. It's a slightly darker yellow. The magenta is one that's really hard to tell. The cyan is actually really, really easy to tell because Pigment Ink is like a really, really bright blue. And then the other one is more of a darker blue. Black, very easy to tell the difference. But if you want to be on the safe side, what you do is take a Q-tip and dip it in there. Like you can either go like to the bottom and take it and put it on a piece of paper, press it to a scrap piece of fabric. If it transfers, it's Sublimation ink. If it doesn't transfer, it's Pigment ink. Well, it'll transfer yellow. So yes, the chip. So when you're looking, it'll look a little bit different. If you watch my videos, I just did a video on it. Go back to Honestly Speaking's YouTube channel. Because I see right now you are on Silaholics Anonymous, but on Honestly Speaking's channel, I did a video where I was testing out chips because we were having some issues with them and we're just verifying them all before they go out. So no one can ever say like, hey, it didn't work. If it doesn't, then there's probably something wrong with your printer because we verified each and every last chip and cartridge that's in this house. So it will, like if you watch that, it'll show you what the indicator like will look like. So your ink is going to go down. And at some point, you're going to get a warning that says low ink. You're going to get the little triangle. It's going to be on your supply status. If you go over to, let's cancel. Oh my gosh. I still have not figured out why. Yeah, it's still not showing up. My cloud is not showing up. All right, let's go over here, print. Because it's not, shoot, it's not going to show up. I think I have to do the main one. My 7840 is not plugged in. So, oh wait, no, it is plugged in. It should pick up. Hold on, let's see. Let's go share screen, and boom. All right. So you see here, my 7840 is telling me toner, ink, low. Ignore toner. None of these have toner. We're going to go to preferences and we're going to go ink levels. And see how I get the triangle. You'll also see this on your printer itself. Once this gets that there's really no more prints left on it, you're going to get an X. It is going to say cartridge not recognized. Once it says cartridge not recognized after a low ink warning, then you will change out your chip. So this is what will let you know when it's time to change. This right here, you can continue to print. If nothing's at some point, it will stop. It might stop in the middle of a print, but when you have this, it's just telling you, hey, you're getting low. Buy more ink. That's all it's telling you. Continue to print until you get an X. With the 310, like with those, you don't necessarily have to rotate it other than to save your damper. So on the bottom of each print, on the bottom of each cartridge is this little gray thing right there. And those can get loose over time. And that's where you'll have a lot of like excess like ink and it'll drip. So rotating them, as far as like which cartridge you put the chip on. So let's say I had this one in there. This cartridge goes like it goes out, right? You can have a set of cartridges with the chips on it already. That's another way for you to know like what's a new set of chips. So you get another set of cartridge and you just keep changing out the clip on there. When this one goes out, just take the other one and put it in. And then the one that you have, like while that is doing its print head cleaning, initializing, this one, you fill it up, you put the new chip on it, and then store it. And it's ready to go and just put it in there. What that will do is also help save your dampers, like on the inside, because constantly putting this in and out, this with getting pushed up can get loose and be destroyed. Cartridges don't last forever. Sometimes they just will not output the ink correctly. The amount of ink that's going through like this little filter here, that can sometimes mess up. Well, on this one, you can't see it, but there's like little, like, oh, you can see it kind of like right there. Sometimes the ink can get stuck. Something could have dried up in there. And in those channels, there can be a blockage there that you just can't get out. So it's always good to have actual like cartridges, extra cartridges. And then you can easily, if one's messed up, it had ink in it, you can easily take the ink out, put it in a new one. But these do not last forever. You will have to, at some point, change these. I have asked, but because the only reason why we label them is because we fill them. We don't sell, like, we don't, like, if it's just the empty cartridges, we don't provide labels for any of the empty cartridges, whether it is 812 or 252s. The only reason why we label them is because we pre-fill them. I don't think he's gonna want to like print them. I don't know. I'll ask. It's not my area. That's on him if he wants to go and like make labels to where you can order a set of labels, or I can just provide the file. You print it out and you put it on there yourself. Or just take a Sharpie and write on it Pigment Ink, like put a P in the bottom or a B, things like that. Not P, S or a P. When I used to get ink from Cobra Ink, they didn't put any labels on it on their actual cartridges. They would just put a P or an S for sublimation. Why are DTF transfers popular now? Because people want a way to put designs on non-polyester and non-white shirts. It is a it's a It's not really cost effective. It's a faster way. Like for me, whenever I wanted to put a design on something, I use screen print transfers. But for screen print transfers, you have to order a lot of them, and the more colors that are on them, the more it's going to cost, right? So DTF gives you a way to basically do a full print, like full color, and then transfer it. It's basically just DTG, but in transfer form. Um, it's supposed to be a little bit softer, a little bit like not as heavy as using vinyl. There's no weeding when it comes to doing DTF or DTF, DTG. Like there's absolutely no weeding. With white toner, there's also no weeding. You just have to put the adhesive on the back. But with white toner, those printers are really expensive. For one that prints 13 by 19, you're looking at a good 10 grand for a good white toner printer. And then the sheets for it are super expensive, like the A and the B to marry them. They're really, really, really expensive. DTF gives you a more economical, but it is a lot of steps to it. With the converted ones, there's a lot of maintenance to it. If it's not going to be your main hustle and bustle, you're going to have to be very disciplined in your maintenance rotation and getting up, like, every day. You go in, even like it's like maybe before you go to work. If you're working a 9 to 5, like your regular job that you have to punch a time clock, get up, turn it on, run the print head cleaning, or like print out something so that it's actually flowing. Like you have to be very disciplined when it comes to especially when it comes to the converted ones. Now, there are actual like DTF printers, which doesn't require as much maintenance, but they're more expensive. So it's like you have to pick your poison. You want convenience, and it's going to cost you more, or you want it to cost a little bit less, but it's going to be a lot of work. My day is incredible. I am great. I am incredible, actually. Incredible morning. It's well worth the $99. I know, I mean, as you know, we are always, of course, looking for a deal. That's always going to be the first, like, that's the natural thing. But it really is worth the 99. I don't know if Swing Design, before Swing Design used to have the more, like, it used to be less than the Silhouette America website. I don't know if their code still works, if it's still on. It was never on sale. It was just that they had a discount code. Not sure if that code is still valid, but it's well worth the $99. Well worth it. Let me go over here and see. Let's go software, Silhouette software, instant code. Actually, I think I have something in my cart. So let's see if that code is still valid in the cart. Let's see. So it looks like the code is still working. For 40, I think it's like 40% off. All right, so let me give you the link because it looks like it's still working. Okay, so there is the link right to the business edition. When you go to your cart and you go to checkout, If you're on your phone, click order summary to see where you put the code in. And that code right there, it's still SIL, SILCSCH. So SIL, I'm pretty sure it's probably for Select School Blog. So SIL School Software. So SILSCH software is the code to be able to get that Bits Edition discounted. Oh, we're almost at an hour. Okay, let's see, where are we at? Um, mm. Is there a class or a video that shows how to design using the layers and silhouettes? Okay. Oh, child, ignore the layers panel. I tell that in every last one of my classes, ignore the layers panel. It's not anything like Photoshop. Hell, it's not even like Cricut Design Space. Ignore the layers panel. It's just going to confuse you. You really can't use that. It's pointless. If my graphics are setting too dark, is it possible that my temp is too high? I'm pressing too long, or both? I did a mouse pad yesterday, 365, 40 seconds, and it looked dark. There can be a number of things. I mean, it could be the print settings, it could be the substrate. Remember that all substrates are not created equal. Um, One of the things I always say to do is have scrap fabric on hand. I'm not sure what you pressed it to. Does is that a pure white? Is it an off white? Was it a hard substrate? Was it fabric? Press it on different things and see if it still kind of has that dark tone. And it might be your print settings that's making it that way. Do you recommend using your cleaning solution recreation to clean out cartridges to reuse? To reuse them for what? Like with different inks? Is that what you're referring to? You love my mom? My mother's a trip. What is the difference between the transfers on clear paper and white paper? Which ones are you referring to? DTF, screen print, eco solvent. It might just be the way that it's made. So a lot of the transfers that are eco solvent, it's basically just vinyl. You're printing on it. The backing of it is actually a clear one. So once they weed it, you're seeing the clear, like carrier sheet, and then you're seeing the design. Screen print ones, they're printed on white. Actually, I think Supercolor might have clear transfer paper, like release paper, but like all the others I've ever ordered from 613 Original, FM Expression, Stalls, they're on a white paper and they're different. Some are like a paper, which is normally your hot split, your hot fix, like the ones that are like hot peels. And then you have like one that's more of a glossy one for like the glitters and things like that, which are a cold peel. So those are a little bit different. When it comes to white toner, they are printed on basically like a clear one. Once you marry it, you pull it off. That's now on a clear, it looks like a clear sheet. So it might be the method that the transfer was made. But I don't know of anyone where like you have a choice of clear or white paper. I'm not sure if DTF is that way, if they have a clear or white transfer film. Happy Thursday, my dear. The 30-day training will forever be available. You can go on our website at any time and purchase the 30-day essentials training. Just scroll down. It's right here, 8365. And I recommend trying to go through it day by day. But if you really, really need help, like in edit points or tracing, you can jump to those days now that it's fully recorded, but the 30 days will always be available to you guys. And also, please make sure if you join the exclusive Facebook group that you put the code in. My team will not approve you if you don't have the code in. Screen prints, I've never, other than, I'm not sure. I know you have used Supercolor. Does Supercolor have clear carrier sheet, like transfer sheets for their transfers? That's the only company I think that I've ever seen that has clear, but everybody else just has white, and it's no different. I have all 812 cartridges and the ink looks dry. Does it mean like there's no ink in it whatsoever? And what's there? Because I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by the ink looks dry. Um, Girl, let me tell you, if you're worried about your cartridges looking cute and clean, you're in the wrong business. They're never going to look cute and clean. My cartridges look a hotmess.com. I would not worry about them looking cute and clean because the outside is going to have ink and stuff on it, and they're just not going to stay that way. But you should be able to, I mean, if you want to put the solution in there, I really don't, it's really not going to matter. Maybe you might want to post a picture of what it looks like because you're probably stressing for no reason. It's unless you had like both of the, both of them open, any little bit of ink in there, if it was going to dry out, it would dry. Like if you move and like if you turn it and it moves, it's still good. Just go ahead, maybe test that ink to see which one was in it. Now, if you're not sure what was in it, because it's like no ink in it whatsoever, then you don't even have to really use a cleaning solution. Just put some water, a little bit. Well, you can put like maybe alcohol in it, flush it. But it's a process because it's not just put it in there and then use your syringe to pull it out. So you're going to have to put the solution in. You can kind of rinse around. You can't, well, with that one, you probably can just shake it and dump it. But what I do is I take my syringe, put it in the bottom and basically act like it's printing. So I'll pull it from the bottom port, but you might be able to, well, no, because you have the ledge. So yeah, I mean, you're going to sit here and just keep shaking and shaking and shaking, trying to get it out. But what I do is I put the syringe without the needle here and draw it out the same like it would like if it was printing to make sure it goes through like all like the channels and all that. So it's not an easy process, or it's not a quick process to flush it out. As far as any experience with it, no. If you have certain questions, I might still be able to answer it for you, but do I use one? No. But depending on what your question is, I might still be able to answer it. Printers are pretty much the same. All right, we're also about to wrap up here. She says, forget all that. I'm headed to the site to buy some empty cartridges. Let's see. My printer has been sitting for over a year and the ink is all gone. I'm going to look that one up and see which ink cartridges it uses. XP ink. So it uses it looks like it uses a 288. Now, I'm not sure if you have a continuous ink system for it or if you were just buying extra, like if you were just buying the Epson cartridges for it. If you were using refillables, you basically can do the push air because that uses regular cartridges to, if it's dried up and it's just not printing out ink, it just means that, the print heads are dry and you can basically re-wet those and get them all sopped up by just putting refillable cartridges in, put a cleaning solution in there. You can either buy a cleaning solution or you can make a cleaning solution. And you're just going to you're going to do the push air. That's basically forcing that solution through it to try and get it wet. It might take a couple of runs to kind of really get it going. You might want to print out some purge files. The purge file is going to come out clear, but you just print it to where it just prints it out. And every channel is actually getting that solution to go through. And then you'll put your ink cartridges in. You're going to have to run a couple print head cleanings to get it going. Look and see how it looks. If it's not quite working, take those out, put the cleaning cartridges in there, push that air through it. The reason why I recommend cleaning cartridges versus just the one where you use the tube, it is very easy to break that pin that's on the inside. I don't ever recommend using that unless you're going to be very, very gentle. I don't recommend, using just the syringe. You have the tube on it, you put the tube on the print head and push. You break that pin, that printer's a goner. You mean the Artisan? If you try pushing air, so when you say you can't unclog it, if you're just doing a bunch of print head cleanings, that's never going to unclog it. You have to force ink through it, maybe force cleaning solution through it. But just doing a bunch of printhead cleanings will never actually unclog it. That's the biggest lie ever told, that a bunch of printhead cleanings will clear clogged lines. Um okay, so Lynette, I see your question. I cannot put it on screen. We don't promote any other companies here. But you can use our inks with any paper. You can use our paper with any ink. I don't care what anyone says. There's no such thing as a power combo, or you got to use these two together. These work best together. That's another biggest lie ever told. Any ink will work with any paper. Any paper will work with any ink. I think it's really dumb to tell someone that you can only use this, because if you happen to be out, then what am I supposed to do? Not run my business because you're out of product? You have to be versatile and be able to switch up and pivot. You can be very, very loyal to someone, a company, and you absolutely love their products. And in certain cases, you're able to wait until they're back in stock, but you never know, for sure when someone is back in stock. And if you're running a business, I have said this time and time again, you better have a good, better, best. You better have an option A, B, and C, and D, all the way to Z, because you have to continue to move and run your business. So definitely try out other papers. It might be to where, we might run out, highly doubt it. And a ship might be stuck over in the ocean somewhere. We can't get our paper. What do you do then? You got to have another option, because you still have a business to run. Our product not being in can't stop yours. A lot of big companies had supply chain issues. We waited 8 months to get our garage doors done because they could not move, because the parts that they wanted from a specific company were not available. 8 months we waited for our garage doors, probably even more than that. So don't ever get caught up in this whole, you have to use this ink with this paper with this ink. Do what's best for your business, your company, to keep it moving, keep getting your points. And technically, no, you don't have to get new cartridges. I would recommend waiting until, for any particular color, waiting until it gets all the way down. That's where you're going to have to really, really monitor it, let it get really, really low, and then put it on top. Now, I will say this. The ink, Lynette, that you're using, I have said it time and time again, even when I was an affiliate, I don't use those types of cartridges. I actually can't stand those. It is better for you to get our cartridges. That's the one thing I will stand 10 toes down on, is that those cartridges that don't have the circle, they leak like crazy. You don't really get that with our cartridges for the 252s, because they have that regulator in the middle. And I'll stand 10 toes down on that is a much better cartridge. So I do recommend that. If you have the ones that have the rigid hard side and it doesn't have a circle, I recommend getting a new set of cartridges. Other than that, if you want to use those, you definitely can put the ink on top. Why are so many people throwing out their printers after firmware updates? What is it doing to the printer? Just absolutely not a thing. Hold on. It's hot in here. Where is my remote for my fan? I don't see how people have craft rooms, and I don't even have my heat press on. But I was looking at, as I was doing my room, I wanted to have the lights and stuff hanging and suspending, but with the size of my room and where the fan is, I can't do that because it'll just be in the way. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I should take it out so I can really have things. Hell no, it ain't. It's hot. I live in Miami. I need a fan. But anywho, let's get one thing straight here, okay? Epson has been sued already with this whole trying to stop people from using what they want. Once I pay for it, you really can't tell me what. Now, you can choose to not fix it, but you cannot make it where the printer completely stops working. That's even when it comes to the Sawgrass, right? If you put the third party cartridges in there, you can no longer use their proprietary software. So if you try and print through their software, like their print system, you're going to get those X's. But if you just print from it regular from a different program, your colors might be slightly off. Some people say it is off, but you can definitely print directly from Silhouette through theirs. It's just basically like a regular printer, but you cannot print through Sawgrass's print software with a third-party cartridge. You're going to get all those X's. They are able to do that because the print software is proprietary to them. So they can stop a third-party cartridge from going through their system, but they cannot stop you from using that printer because you have paid for it. There's been a lawsuit on this. So everyone that's saying that firmware updates does this, that, and the third, it's not true, people. You can do the firmware update. Now, what may happen if you are using third-party cartridges and those cartridges are in the printer when you do a firmware update with the newer printers. Now, with the 7720s, try, it don't even matter. I've done plenty of firmware updates. It never changes anything. But if you do it with the newer, do the firmware update, what will happen is it can kill those chips. So with the new printers, the reason why there's no reset for it is you cannot reset the code that's on there. With all the other ones, every time it's like a certain serial number, it's like a certain code that can be reset over and over and over again. With the new ones, you can't. So when you have that, you have those in there, you do the firmware update, it's going to kill that chip. It's going to kill that code. There's no way to bring it back. So I always tell people, if you're going to do a firmware update, have a set of Epson cartridges. Put those cartridges in if you need to do a firmware update, because it's not going to kill that chip because it's designed for that printer. And once it's done, then you put those, you put the refillable ones back in with the third-party chips. But for everyone that's saying they're throwing theirs out, they're crazy as hell, they're throwing away money. Now, the only other time that a firmware update might mess with your computer is if it does not align with the current version or update of your computer's operating system. There's been a lot of updates for Windows and Mac. So if Windows does an update, right, and it's not compatible with and that's happened to me before with my 7720, and it was not compatible with the current drivers and like a firmware, all that stuff for that printer, you may have to do so Epson will create a firmware update to now make that printer compatible with the new Windows or Mac's operating system. Then you'll have to do that firmware update. If there was like a major issue, something in that messed up something on your computer because it's communicating back and forth, you may have to do it then. But as far as just the ink and using a third-party cartridge, it's never, promise you, done several of them. I'm not like everybody else. It's just going off of, oh, well, this person said this person said that. Even companies that say they are gurus of this, they sell ink, they sell cartridges, they sell this, they sell that. They're not doing those tests. They didn't go and have 3 different printers and have 3 different firmwares on there. I've shown that evidence. If it was an issue with firmware, when new printers are made, they're made with the new firmware. So if you could not use a printer that was made last year, January, and this year, January, Epson's not going to go and make it with the same old firmware. They've now updated their system, right? So I've purchased printers that have different firmwares. It's never going to affect it. They're throwing away money because they're listening to folk who don't know what they're talking about. So what you should do, have them come on over here because your girl knows her stuff, okay? Is there a paper that can be used to weed dark transfers to weed it? I mean, weeding is always going to be manual, but as far as press, like lifting it up, some people use the transfer, like the masking, like you can't use the heavy tack because it will peel off the paint. I've used heat tape. That's the reason why I like my wide heat tape. So I will put that down in sections. But with the dark transfers, it's not going to ever pick it up. Just put it down and pick it up because it's applied to the backing via pressure. So once you weed it, you have to go around all the edges and lift up and release that, release the transfer, release the pressure from around all of the edges. Then once you pull it down, because you've released it, it will now pick up and the rest of it will follow. So it's not something that you're going to be able to do like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like, okay, let me just put this down and lift it up. Oop, nope, not going to happen if that's what you're looking for. But you can use any medium to low tack carrier sheet or use heat tape. I want to finish using the other ink and fill with yours. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your purchase. You can do an update on any. Okay, so there's also a difference between firmware and like the drivers. If your printer is working, you really don't have to do a firmware update unless it like just will not print to it. And there's something like within, like, look at the firmware. That's another thing too. People will look at that and they don't bother to go to the site to see what that update is updating. Look at that. Most times you don't ever have to do a firmware update. I did mine just to prove a point, but you don't have to. Just turn the notification off. What is annoying for most people is it keep popping up saying you have to do the firmware update. Just disable the notifications. I have a video on that. I have a video for everything. Just disable notifications. Now, if it is a software one, like the drivers or like the e-scan and stuff like that, then those you will have to do updates for. But firmwares, y'all can, I'm telling y'all, just ignore it. Turn the notifications off so that you don't get those pop-ups. Just ignore it. I did a nozzle head cleaning, was perfect when I printed. Cyan. Did a check again and cyan messed up. Now doing print head cleanings. Why was it perfect, but then it didn't print cyan? Guys, I can never give you guys all the answers. One printer will do something one time and then it just doesn't. I've had that. All I can say is just go through the troubleshooting one. So if you've done the nozzle check and now it's showing broken lines, check your cartridges. Make sure that it's primed and filled. A lot of the times, people are just looking at the status and don't realize that their cartridge has no ink in it, or their circle is like it doesn't have an ink in there. So one, make sure that it's primed and filled. If it's primed and filled, go ahead and push air. If it's just not doing it at that point, then the printer might be bad. You guys do know these printers can't go bad. I have a 7210. My sister knows it. Is there 7210? Yeah. My sister's 7210. The cyan will not work. So she ended up having to have them send her, the replacement one for it because it was still under warranty. But sometimes they're just going to go out. So if you felt like you've done everything, you've pushed air quite a few times and it just will not get rid of the brakes, you've switched out cartridges, it will not get rid of the brakes, then it might not be any good. I'm going to always recommend to get a new set of cartridges, whether it's an Epson set of cartridges or if you buy a refillable one. If it doesn't fix your issue, no, I'm not refunding you because that's a part of maintenance. That's a part of troubleshooting. You need, if you're just testing it with one cartridge, you're never going to know. Maybe the issue was something as simple as changing the cartridge. So you're going to have to make that investment. Now, if the printer is just a dud, then yeah, technically you wasted money on those cartridges. Really nothing you can do about it, but that's the only way to truly test. You should never troubleshoot a continuous issue with the exact same equipment, with the exact same cartridges. You should never do that because if it's the cartridge, you're going to get the same results, right? So try and push air. If that doesn't work, if you have another set of cartridges, try that. If that doesn't, unfortunately, the printer might be gone. And that's something that happens. We have a 7720 also that's in storage. I'm just using that in case I ever need the parts, like the print head for it. But it doesn't, I think with that one, we were getting constant paper jams on it. And I think it's something with that little piece in the back, or there might be something in it. I haven't had a chance to take it apart, but we were consistently getting paper jams on it. So that was just put out to pasture, but it's great for parts. So I'm not going to completely get rid of it. Aw, thank you. Have I ever done a chipless firmware on a printer? No, it is a lot of like it can get very confusing. You can mess up yours. I've never needed to. I just don't see the benefit of it. I've even had a company that wanted us to be an affiliate for it, but I've never had an issue with using the 7720 and just putting the card, like putting the chip resetter to it. Now, there are printers like that you can't get really, like you really can't get chips for, or they're really, really expensive. Like some of the old XP, some of the older workforces, and they have chipless firmwares for that because no one really sells the cartridges, like because it's not a popular one, but a few people have the older printers. So you can use it for that, but it's a process. With setting that up. I've never had to do it because I didn't have an issue just resetting. And then with the 7310s, I don't have an issue with consistently changing out my chips. So I'm not a fan of chipless firmwares. It's not, so if there's ink in it, it's not. So when I say there's no ink, is if like there's none. If there's ink in it, then there's ink in it. I'm gonna tell you that there's ink in it, but you just have to look at the circle. Does that circle, can you see straight through it, or is there only a little bit of ink and a big old air bubble in it? That's what you are looking for. I have several videos where I've gone and I've shown what it looks like, should it look like. If you go to my fill and prime, if your center looks like mine does once you fill and prime it, then you're good to go. But if there's any amount of ink in it, there's ink. Then, and if you've pushed air and you're still having the issue, only thing I can say, like I said, change out the cartridge. If that doesn't work, the printer's bad. I cannot say if it can use pigment ink. The printer itself, you have to look up the specs. If it is an Epson Dual-Bright Ultra cartridge, it's pigment ink. If it doesn't say that, it's dye ink. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the Expressions 15,000. Even is in there giving MJ a lesson on being an entrepreneur. Some of the stuff I agree with, some of it I don't. We're gonna have to have this little chat. It's just kind of crazy. I hear him talking to him because the video that I want to do is one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made is trying to run my own business. That's the biggest mistake. I don't recommend anyone try to run your own business, but there's a message in there. But that video will be coming. But it's been an hour and a half. Let me get off of here. I actually have work to do. I need to finish this cart for my heat press and hopefully get my living room back together because I'm tired of my house looking cuckoo crazy, and finish organizing. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here. Thank you guys so very much for joining me. Don't forget to visit our website. One of the best ways to say thank you for all of the valuable information is to support our site. Is to support our business. I have a shirt that says, "My favorite humans support my business 365 days a year." So whether it is simply referring someone to us, maybe you don't need product right now, but you know that we have amazing products, amazing customer service, and we are knowledge-based and willing to help. That is what these businesses, when we are starting them and everyone's kind of coming out with their own product line, it's about supporting those who support you. And that's what our company is all about. That's always at the forefront for me, is to provide knowledge and provide help. I'm able to do this when you guys support our business. So I'm able to give live videos and answer questions on demand, live, in person, right when you ask them, because you guys are supporting. So I'm able to sit here where, technically, I guess you can say making money, but it's really free time where I could be, doing something else. And I'm able to do that because you guys support the business. You guys support the channel. So refer our YouTube channels so that we can get those subscriber counts up, get those view counts up, so we can make coins off of that. Support our site by letting someone know that we have quality products. All right. Quality products. And, we test them, we provide information. And did I mention that we have some of the best prices around for a quality product? Not everything is quality, not everything is created equal, because I've seen some stuff. I did a whole test on a headband from Dollar Tree. I don't know what kind of ink and paper they use, but baby, those colors were dull and dull and dull. I printed out another one on the backside, and honey, those colors were popping. Hey, I didn't see Jessie for me to sing my song. Did I miss Jessie's name? Oh, Jessie wasn't on today. I didn't get to sing my song. But again, we have quality products, some of the best prices. Our ink bottles that actually need to change all these thumbnails. They're the old prices, which I actually kind of like the fact that they're there, because then you go in there and you come in here, it's like, bam, it's actually, I'm about to save money. So it's actually 55.63, 365 backwards. I like numbers like that. But yeah, definitely go check out the site. We have sublimation ink, sublimation paper, the tacky paper, the fast dry. Our 8.5 by 11 paper is only $18.30. Our 13 by 19 is $33.65. We don't have to overcharge, 40, 50, 60 bucks for paper. It's kind of crazy. Buy low, profit high for your businesses. So definitely support our business. You can get all of our products at shop.hsink365.com. Let's see. Can't wait. I can't wait so y'all see the new space too. I've price matched you from others, and your paper ink is the best price and at a great quality. Like, just because it's a little bit less than others doesn't mean that it's cheaper. And I think some people think, well, dang, if she's only doing it this price, everybody else is way up here. That must be some cheap stuff. Oh, honey. None. We don't do non-quality over here. We just provide the best pricing, because our core demographic are others who are trying to make a profit. For the most part, there are some that are just crafters, but even as a crafter, you don't want to just throw money away and waste money. You want that crafting dollar to stretch. But as those who are entrepreneurs, you buy low to sell high. So we, we crunched our numbers. We make a very, 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 very great profit. Our business is thriving and doing well. We are up there with, what's the song? She write them checks with a whole lot of zeros. We got a couple zeros, behind that. And we are able to do that at these prices. And the way that we order, the way that we just run business, we don't lose anything. We actually did a price drop, and we have not missed a beat. We've actually met and surpassed our goals, like our monthly sales goals, with dropping our prices. We actually doubled them in the amount of people that come to the site and stuff like that. So it's not something that really hurt us. So I'm very, 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 very grateful for that. I was just telling my cousin the other day that I can get 4 packs of 100 sheets for $99. Another was 3 packs for more than $99. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I love your products. Thank you. Yes. Mary. I knew what song it was. I was trying to think how to say it, but yeah, that is my jam. It's the God in me. She write them checks with a whole lot of zeros. Yeah. So I thank you guys, but all of that success is basically like our site thriving is because of you guys. And I always say, we don't have a business if you guys don't buy. So, here we thank you. thinking that I have a business that my husband can teach my 10-year-old about running because it's Take Your Child to Work Day. So he's teaching him the ins and outs of business. I'm going to try and record them a little bit as they process orders. I'm actually surprised he's going to be really patient and let him help him process orders, because even is really fast in how he does stuff and he has a process, but this is going to be a good learning moment for him, because again, we are trying to run our own business, and that's not always the good thing. You need help sometimes. So I'm hoping that he's very patient with them and lets him actually pack, no matter if it's right. Oh, you know what I'll probably do? If MJ packs your order today, I'll have him sign it so that you know that it was packed by my 10-year-old on Take Your Child to Work Day. So I think I'm going to do that. That's my jam. That's right. That's definitely a theme song. Let's see. You get those checks when you are a blessing to others, not keeping all your goods for yourself, not keeping all your learning to yourself. Thank you for the blessing. You are very welcome. All right, y'all, let me get up out of here. Until next time, have a great one. Continue to unlock your creativity. I'm hoping that I can show you guys my creativity that is this room very, 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 very soon. Until next time.